It's a gold rally, but is it too late to get in? Well, let's check out the charts. Let's head off with GLD, Spider Gold Shares ETF. And what do we see on the relative strength indicator? RSI, it's at 63. Now it's coming down a bit from oversold conditions. It's briefly there. And what we expect from a pullback in oversold conditions is just a slight pullback in price. Now, sometimes you can get a larger pullback like you can see here kind of in mid-November. But as long as it stays above 40, more importantly above 50, and you'll notice that back in November, it actually fell down closer to 40. Well, you could see a sustainable rally here because remember, stocks can stay overbought for longer than most people expect. Let's take a look at the MACD, moving average crossover. And what do we see? The MACD crossed over here in early February, crossed over the signal line, and it's seen a little bit of slowdown here. But overall, the trend is intact. And what we could see is maybe a mild pullback when we get into the charts. But overall, the trend looks pretty good. And even Momentum Timer Pro. And if you missed a previous show, this is a preview of version 6 coming out on Monday that takes a look at not only Momentum Timer Pro's proprietary momentum algorithm, but now also factors in the best of 3, the MACD and the RSI. And it needs 2 confirming to say this is good. And it's been completely revamped to take on the new signals, and it's saying 14 consecutive days of buy signals saying, yeah, there is a rally here and it's good. Let's take a look at the longer term indicators for gold. We've got price being bullish across the board. All the moving averages turning upwards. Momentum on them is rising, meaning prices continue to move up. You're above all the key moving averages, with the exception of 9-month momentum, which is not a significant momentum indicator. You've got the 6-month, the 3-month, the 12-month, the ones you want, where algorithms will come in and buy. Let's take a look at the price charts. Let's look at gold itself. And what do we see? We've got the 6-month volume profile solid, underneath here at 1789. How about the 1 year? It's solid at 1799. How about the 2 year? It's right there, 1790. What is that telling you? There's a floor. So even if prices do come down, you've got a strong floor there. Now let's take a look at what we see here. And we'll zoom in just a bit on the 1 year. And a lot of people are going to be focusing on this rejection into last week as people came in and sold this big move higher. Well, there's going to be people that need to sell. Perhaps, with what's going on in the world right now, there are people that might have gold that would probably like to sell it to get some other form of currency that they need. And what do we see? We see a pullback right here to 1890. And the last time we were up here, we saw this just massive amount of selling pressure into gold. But we could be seeing just a checkup here, perhaps even now into the volume, dip into the volume here at around 1870, then in the mid 1860s, and maybe just a pullback to confirm to allow the moving averages to catch up. And here you can see the 21-day rising into that level. The 50-day is a little bit behind. So is it too late to get in? Well, the answer is no. Perhaps you might want to watch just for a bit of a pullback and then look for the ride. How about we take a look at GDX? Remember, gold miners are a leverage play on the metal. We see a similar situation here. It went oversold back in early and mid-December, and while price didn't rally a ton, it's been pushing higher, and the RSI, now it's almost 62, just not quite into oversold condition, showing a little slowdown, but that doesn't make a big difference. We've seen brief pullbacks as the RSI went from oversold and then another price rally. So from the RSI, it's giving you a green signal. How about the MACD? You've got a similar crossover back in early February, just with like gold. It's got some strong momentum behind it, and that looks good too. And of course, Momentum Timer Pro, in which you can sign up. I'll put the link up in the corner in the description below. Still remains free, 14 consecutive days. So best 2 out of 3, perhaps all 3, signaling that this is a solid opportunity and there's nothing holding it back. And even looking at the longer term picture, what do you see? 21-day, 50-day, 100-day moving average, all trending higher. Momentum on them rising above all the key moving average. And just like gold, with the exception of 9-month momentum, this thing looks pretty good. Let's take a look and see what GDX is telling us. And you see this volume profile line on the 6-month chart, or on the 1-year chart. I thought we were on the 6-month there for a moment, moved up to 32.62. So you've got support underneath. So you could say, hey, I might wait and see if there's a bit of a pullback here, which there could be. You'll notice it's got sold right here in the $34 range. So a pullback on the 1 year. Well, that would give you some confirmation that perhaps, the RSI, you see it moving down a little bit. You see the MACD, perhaps it will slow down a bit. And then you may even see Momentum Timer Pro pull back a little bit, but you notice the moving averages are pulling up here. And what you want to see in the bottom is price sit around a certain level for a while and then start to trend higher. Now let's go to 6 month and see. Now support for 6 month is a bit lower, but still there's solid support down there where the buyers have been at. Let's look at the 2-year chart, and it's right there. So now you're kind of getting the bigger picture of what happened is price ran into a spot where sellers have been at the 2-year mark. And the question now for those who are bullish on gold, for bullish on the miners, can they break through that? And generally what that takes is a bit of a pullback. So might want to watch for a pullback, perhaps in here to the 32.88, maybe even 32.50. See if it holds in there and look for perhaps buyers to step up their purchases at higher levels and send it up. All right, let's go on to silver, which has gotten a big breath of wind behind it. Its RSI at 60, positive for momentum. You see it too went oversold back in December, and then while price has not gone on a huge rally since then, it's been trending higher. But notice the RSI, it goes up, it gets down to 40, catches some wind, gets down into 40, catches some wind, and that's what you want to see from the RSI. How about the MACD? You got that crossover back there in December, validating a entry point. It came and crossed downside, but there wasn't much downside in price. But you notice the trend is good. The crossover's back early February. So much like GDX, much like gold, saying, hey, there's a rally here. Momentum Timer Pro, it's telling you 13 days in the new version 6.0, validating all the signals saying, yes, this is good. How about price? Bullish across the board. Momentum on at least a 21 and 50 day bullish. Now 100 days is likely bearish because, of course, we've seen that long period of flat for gold just going, or silver going sideways. So some of these longer term moving averages, it's going to take a while for them to catch up. Above all the key moving averages, hasn't gotten past the 6 and 9 or 12 month momentum yet, but I imagine those are coming soon, and that would be a breath of fresh air for silver to get some more buying action going on. Let's pull out to the 2-year chart. And much like GDX, what do you see? Rising right into a sell zone. So you see in those, there's strong sellers here. There's been sellers at 24, say 17, right here where price is at. And this is a sell zone. So clearly identify that every time it gets up into this $24 price range, you get sellers, 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 sellers. Now let's go down to the 1 year and see where volume profile is. It's above there. So when price jumped on Friday, it just ran to a spot where there was just more sellers. It doesn't say the trend is changing. In fact, what you're seeing here is kind of a nice bottom being formed. Let's look at the 30-day. You notice how the volume profile is verifying that, yes, this is a bottom, and here is some price support up there. And notice how price came down, hit the 30-day volume profile, and then bounced off of it. That's good. How about the 90-day? Well, it's just getting kind of gobbled up right there. So this is clearly in the hands of the buyers, and what do you want to see from the buyers is maybe a bit of a pullback, pick up these moving averages that are starting to curve up and form a bottom and support on that, and then you'll be looking at perhaps a move back into the 27s. That would be the next major sell zone, but you're gonna have to get through right this price here at the 2-year mark. This is where all the battle is being formed here at silver. They're gonna have to break through that. Then you're looking at 26 and then up to 27 to see if you can get a major breakout here. But otherwise, you have to look at this bigger picture and say, yeah, this is kind of what you want to see in a bottom. You got a double bottom here, and then you got a series of higher lows. Well, that's exactly what you want. Now the only question is, where's your entry point? Let's go on to the dollar, which could be the problem, but there are times the dollar and metals rise together. So maybe this is one of those times. It's a risk-off scenario. People are looking for dollars, they're looking for metals. Perhaps they'll even be looking for bonds. See the RSI at 55, so it's above 40. It never really got down into oversold condition, not even back here in April and May. Before price has been trending higher, it's moving back over 50. That's a positive turn. You see the arrows going up, prices rising is what you want to see. MACD got a crossover here just recently, heading higher. That's positive. Momentum Timer Pro, looking at 2 out of 3 signals, now telling you 5 consecutive days, validating everything you're seeing. The nice thing about new version 6, you don't have to cross-check it with other technical indicators because they're built into it now. How about the longer-term picture? Not as rosy here, but you've got the 21-day moving average turning higher, 100-day moving average, which is more key to the dollar, as we've talked about what it tends to follow. It's heading higher. Still, momentum remains bearish on the 21 and 50-day moving average. Not confirming that, but still coming. And the 50-day moving average is not turning up enough, but price remains above all the key moving averages and above its longer-term signal. So what you've seen in terms of price is just a shorter-term issue. And let's go and look at, we'll first start with UUP. And here you can see we've seen all this selling right here, and the battle lines drawn around 25.73. Price now above that. We could see a flight to safety. You notice the 50-day moving average is flatlining here, so it needs to turn up and head higher. The 21-day needs to turn up and head higher. The 50-day is rising. Let's go out to the 1-year chart. So you're starting to see that this battle is now providing some support for the dollar. So even if price came down and dollars were sold here, you now see that there's support for this. Let's look at the 2-year chart, which should be below. So good, providing nice support there. And that's sending up a launch higher of the dollar up to UUP up to 27. Let's take a look at DXY here, and that's telling you you're looking at dollar getting up into the 99 range, and that is dangerous for the equity markets. And again, could be a risk-off move for the metals and miners, but there are times they rally together, but if the dollar gets too strong, that could be a problem. But in the short term, you could see them both headed higher as a flight to safety, and that could be good news for those who are bullish on both. All right, let's go on to the bond market, which is, again, just deferred dollars. Think about treasuries is all they are. TLT, long-term treasury bond fund, of course, one of the Bond King's favorites, loves duration. As a risk-off move, bonds tend to go up and interest rates go down. Here we see going from an oversold condition in mid-February, now pushing higher over 40, and that's key. That's where you want to see the RSI. The first move you need to do is get over 40 and then keep going higher. That's why we saw this got bought. It was an oversold condition. Traders came in and bought this. Let's look at the MACD. A weak crossover at this point. So no, it's still crossed. So that's providing a positive signal. So you got the RSI over 40. You've got the MACD cross. So that's giving you 2 out of 3 signals. Of course, Momentum Timer Pro is going to flag that as a buy, but we'll look at that in a moment. But so it's not a lot of strength here. So you may say, well, you might want to hold off and just see if you can get some price rally here. Of course, Momentum Timer Pro, 4 consecutive buy signals, so give me some early indicator that this should be on your watch list. Now, from a long-term perspective, it's pretty ugly. And we've seen this before, that when you get a lot of red down here, that's usually where you should start looking for a bottom below all the key moving averages. All momentum screens are negative. All the moving averages are trending down. Momentum still remains positive on, which is wild. Let's take a look at TLT, because there's not a big story here other than you're in the early phases of a bottom. And how do you know? Because price just doesn't keep going down. And you see how it rode the 21-day moving average down. And what you want to now see is the 21-day start to flatten out and curve, eventually curve higher, whereas price is no longer going down. So you want to see it fighting back against the 21-day moving average. You see it's building up some volume here. It's finding some support. It's really got to break through and get up into the 141 to really push through here, and then it runs into the 50-day moving average. So the next test for an upward move in price will be for TLT to come up and tag the bottom end of the 50-day moving average. Probably will get sold, and then it gets pushed back down to see if it rallies up. But you'll notice, and we can draw a bit of a trend line here, that there's a lot of opportunity, because we know for a fact this has been sold and shorted along here. So what it's telling us is if the bulls can get a hold of it, there's a lot of short sellers that can get worked out in a very short period of time. And we'll make this just a little bit bigger so you can see. So there's opportunity here. The only question is, when do you want to play it? Maybe you want to wait for a little more strength here in price, but you'll see the first ripping of the Band-Aid comes off up here in the low 140s. So there's got to be an upward movement of price. Got to get through the 50-day moving average before any of that happens. Let's go on to the energy sector. And of course, all eyes will be on this because of the conflict. Many people expect crude oil prices to rise and energy stocks with it. Let's see, we went from oversold condition back in October. The RSI came down, still maintained around that 40, which is a key level that it needs to hold. Went back up to oversold condition, prices rallied, and now it's come down, it's sitting right above 50. So it's not telling you it's over. In fact, it's sitting at 60. So it's not over yet. It came down around 50 and then it's bounced higher. And how about the MACD? It gave you a signal selling to sell. So you have one signal on the RSI said, nah, you don't need to sell. But look what happened here. previously. And let's look at the RSI. What happened? It went down and price went down a bit, and the MACD said, hey, sell on this, but there wasn't a huge move down in price before it came back up later. So the MACD giving you one of two signals saying perhaps you should sell. Momentum Timer Pro not validating that, although it did have 3 consecutive sell signals. It's in the buy camp, so you have 2 out of 3 signals saying to hold on to this if you're in it. It's definitely not a sell position just yet. How about longer term picture? All the moving averages are up. Prices above all the moving averages. All the momentum screens. Everybody's in this thing, but momentum's starting to slow. Doesn't mean it can't go higher. It just means, hey, if you're in this or you're looking to trade it, that perhaps you to do it with a little bit of caution, tighten up the stops a bit. Let's take a look at the price chart here. What do we see? And a top starting to form, and we had this happen before, and it was just a brief slowdown before prices went higher. You see you've got a nice 50-day moving average rising up here, so at some point it's likely price will come down and confirm it, maybe here in the $65 range. Notice that you've got plenty of volume price support at 57. Let's look at the 1 year, and price support is down below. How about the 2 year? We don't need that. How about 2 year? It's up a little bit, around the same zone. So in the shorter term, let's look at the 30-day, and there you can see there's people definitely in here selling, taking advantage of this, but it doesn't mean the show is over for the energy sector. A lot of things can still change here, but for the moment, I would suspect you might see a bit of a pullback here, and look for that confirmation. Again, rallies start with the cross of the 50-day and a confirmation of it, and that would be what you're looking for. So with that, thanks for being fans. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back on Monday. Bye now. The content of this video is provided as educational information only. It's not intended to provide investment advice. You don't have to be construed as recreational solicitation, buyer, selling, security, financial instrument, or participate in any particular trading strategy. It's very well prepared by Steven Van Metre. Personal capacity. Opinions expressed in this video that do not affect the Atlas Financial or Steven Van Metre Financial.